Namaste and good morning. Let's start our class with the prayers. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Now we'll chant Mahamrityunjay mantra 3 times to pray for those who are in suffering. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Welcome everyone. We'll our today start the class number 15. In last class, class number 14, we studied the Krut Pratyaya or the present participle. We studied the present participle for Parasmaipadi roots. And as you know that we studied the active participle, the word active here indicates that it is for Kartari Prayoga. You remember we had active and passive voice. So this is the active voice which is called Kartari Prayoga in Sanskrit. Today we will study present participle for Atmanepadi roots. And we will see both active and passive voice. So Kartari and Karmani Prayoga. In Parasmaipadi roots, there is no Karmani Prayoga, there is no passive voice. So here you don't have a choice. It will be only active participle for Parasmaipadi roots. But Atmanepadi, because Atmanepadi suffixes are used both in the Kartari sense, in the active sense, as well as the Karmani Prayoga sense. So both options are possible. And again, we'll see both present and future participle. So if you remember the last time when we had the suffix, its name was Shatru or At was the name of the suffix here, Shatru, At. That is for the Parasmaipadi root. This is for the Atmanepadi root. It's called Shanach or Ana. The ones remaining is Ana. Out of Shanach, only Ana remains. So actual suffix is Ana only, but Panini defines it the way by putting some other letters and makes it shanaj. There is a use of those extra letters which is studied when you study Panini grammar in origin. So one characteristic of this suffix is that it's only from Atmanepadi roots. So there is a very clear distinction. Last time what we studied, At Shatru Pratyaya, that was from Parasmaipadi roots. This is from Atmanepadi roots. The meaning is exactly the same. So the same Pratyaya At, the meaning which it conveys in for Parasmaipadi root, the same meaning is conveyed by Ana for Atmanepadi roots. And this thing, that this pratyaya, even though it has ana, but when the verbal base is ending in akara, then you add mana. So all the roots we have studied so far, they have the verbal base ending in ana, all the Atmanepadi roots. That's what we have studied. So those are all in the ana and akaranta. So if you look at here, we had this this class where we said that these are the various classes of the roots. In class number 5, we studied this, and this in the 4 classes, 1st, 4th, 6th, and 10th, the verbal base ends in akara. So like choraya or for bhu, it is bhuva, bhava, dev, deva. So like that. So verbal base ends in akara. So we have only studied so far the roots for these 4 classes which end in a. So for our purpose, you will find that we are ending mana, but the actual suffix is ana, and there are other roots where the verbal base does not end in akara. Therefore, you add ana, not mana. And example is like labha mana, labhate. So labhate becomes labha mana. That's how you make the participle. So it's very simple here, because if you go to verb conjugation table, and if you remember labhadhatu, it is like you just take this labhate and remove te, remaining is the base, and you add mana to the base. So labha mana. So you can take third person singular and just remove the ending te and add the mana. So becomes labha mana. The resulting word, as it was in the previous case, it's a pratipadika. It's a nominal base. And being a nominal base, it will have declensions. You see how the base is ending in akara. Unlike in here, the base is ending in takara. In Parasmaipadi roots, here the base is ending in akara. Because of that, declensions become extremely simple. So here, all you have to do is just like Rama. So ending in akara, exactly like the same, the declensions will go. So that makes it very, very easy for you to decline these participles, because the base is akaranta, ending in akara. The feminine base would be akaranta. All you have to do is, instead of akara, you add akara. So it becomes labhamana. What does labhamana or labhamana mean? one who, so it becomes an adjective, and labha means, as you know, the base labha means to attain, to gain. So one who is gaining. So it becomes the base for one who is gaining. They're just like the gachan, when we studied gachan for the parasmaipadi, roots. Gachat was the base, and it means he who is going. Similarly, lavamana, when you decline, it means he who is gaining or obtaining something. Similarly, lavamana would be she who is gaining something, who is gaining. So because this suffix is used for atmanepadi roots, and as I told you that atmanepadi suffixes are used both for in the sense of active voice and passive voice, kartari and karmani prayoga. I hope you remember we discussed the passive voice in class number 11. The suffix is also used for the passive voice, karmani prayoga, like gamyamana. So if I recall your memory that we had this passive voice, so Ramaha Vidyalayam Gacchati, that is an active voice sentence, and in passive voice it becomes Ramena Vidyalayah Gamyate. So it becomes Gamyate. It takes the Atmanepadi suffix, and Gamya becomes the base. Because again it's an akaranta base, it becomes Gamyamana. Gamyam, now unlike active sense where Labhamana would mean that he who is gaining something, he who is getting something, Gamyamana means what? So if you go again back to the passive voice, you see Gamyate, here it is related to Vidyalayaha, not to Rama. Because Karmani Prayoga, the object or the karma becomes the direct connection to the verb. So when you say Gamyamanaha, it will refer to Vidyalayaha. So the one which is being gone to, that is the difference between the active and passive voice, and it will become clear as we see the examples. It is generally used as an adjective, just like the participle for the parasmaipadi roots, and we'll also see the future participle. How does that work? So one good thing about in this pratyaya, this suffix, is that the declensions are extremely easy. You see, lavamana, both her declensions are very, very familiar. There are no exceptions, no like 2-stem, 3-stem kind of thing. It is something we have used many, many times. So that is a good thing here. And second, the meaning is exactly the same as far as karmani prayoga is concerned as it was for the at pratyaya. So to understand shanach pratyaya after the shatru pratyaya, it's extremely easy. We'll see the examples. So just read these sentences and then we'll see those sentences. So just take a look at these sentences. I'll just open a file 1 second. So just take a couple of minutes to read these sentences. So now we'll see how these sentences are used in Sanskrit. That will give you a clear understanding how do we use the participle. So just to let you know, you probably know already, diving is a verb, and in Sanskrit it is gaha. Gaha is the root. Gaha means to dive, to plunge. So this is the root we'll use for today's class a lot to understand, and it is the Atmanepadi root, and that's how the declensions, the conjugations are. In the present tense, it's gahate, gahete, gahante. Very simple, just like any other simple Atmanepadi root. And lut lakara, the future tense, is this. So we'll see that. And I have also put the declensions of gahamana. Again, it is exactly the same as like Rama, no difference. And we'll look at that. So gaha is our root. So Shyama dives into the river. River, you know, Nadi. Nadi, it's an Ikaranta word. And like Nari, Nadi. So it's an Ikaranta word. The first singular is Nari, Narim, like this. And Naryam is the seventh case singular. So Shyama dives into the river. How do we make it? Shyamaha. So it will be the seventh case singular. So Nadyam gahate. So simple sentence, no complications. Shyama dives into the river. Shyamaha nadyam gahate. It's a present tense sentence for an Atmanepadi root. Rama sees Shyama diving into the river. So now you see this sentence. Shyama is diving into the river and Rama sees him. It's not a question mark, it's a actual full stop. So Rama sees Shyama diving into the river. Here you can see, because diving is happening at the time when Rama is seeing, it becomes a present participle. So we'll have Rama pashyati. So Rama sees. How does he see? Shyamam. So he will see Shyamam first. He will see Shyama. So Shyamam. And diving into the river. So Gahate will become Gahamana. And because Shyamam is accusative singular, Gahamana also will be accusative singular. So it becomes Gahamanam and Nadyam. So generally, the way you will make this sentence, you will put, the order would be like this generally. Rama Gahamanam Shyamam. Rama Ramaha Nadyam Gahamanam Shyamam Pashyati. That's how you will make the sentence. So this is pretty simple. If you look at here, nominal. So here Gahamanam, the accusative singular. So Shyamam Gahamanam. It's exactly the same declensions like Akaranta, like Ram. So Ramaha Nadyam Gahamanam Shyamam Pashyati. Rama sees Shyama diving into the river. Now look at this one. Rama gives a fruit to Shyama diving into the river. So again, Shyama is in the middle of this action, diving into the river, and Rama gives a fruit to Shyama. Shyama comes in the fourth case. Remember, for giving, fruit will come the second case and Shyama will come in the fourth case. And because he is diving, you can write it exactly the same manner. Ramaha Nadyam. Now, Nadyam is okay in the river. Shyama, it will be in the fourth case because fruit is being given. So, Shyamaya. And because he is diving, it's also Gaha Manaya. So, Gaha Manaya Shyamaya Phalam Yachati. Rama Nadyam Gaha Manaya Shyamaya Phalam Yachati. So it looks like a long sentence, but if you can break it into the components, it becomes very easy. So Gaha Manaya Shyamaya refers to the, because Shyama is in the fourth case, the participle or the Shanach Pratyaya, this word also will be in the fourth case because it's an adjective to Shyama. And give the fruit. He is giving the fruit. Now we have put another thing. Rama gives a fruit to the brother of Shyama who is diving into the river. So think of it, how will you make this sentence? Now the Shyama, the brother of Shyama. So Shyama is diving into the river and his brother. So Shyama is in the sixth case. So that's why Gaha Mana also would be the sixth case because of Shyama. So Shyamasya Bhrata. So the way you will put it is Ramaha Gahamanasya Shyamasya to the brother of. So brother will come in the fourth case. Now I hope you remember, but we had this nominal declensions for brother, like Pitru. There is a word called Bhratru. Bhratru for brother. It's a Rukaranta relationship now. So the fourth case singular way is a Pitre. So Bhratre. It will become Bhratre. So Shyamasya Bhratre. Phalam Yachati. You see, it looked like a very big sentence, but when you start making, it's pretty simple and straightforward. Ramaha Gahamanasya Shyamasya Bhratre Phalam Yachati. Rama gives a fruit to the brother of Shyama diving into the river. So this is the present participles for present kartari in an active sense. So we are using so far in the active sense present participle. I will take any questions if you have. So that before we move forward, let me see if you have any questions. Okay, Nadyam is missing. So I'll put Nadyam here. Good point. Nadyam Gahamanasya. And here also Nadyam. Okay. All right. Anything Anybody else, any questions so far? The question is masculine and feminine we discussed. Neuter also is the same way. So gahamana, because neuter the base remains the same as masculine, and you will do the akaranta noun just like vanam. So like Rama is the masculine noun and Vana is the neuter noun. So you will like decline like this, gahamanam, gahamane, like that. So no difference between, except that the gender would be neuter, and then you will use the neuter declensions. So far good. So far I think based upon your questions, it seems like you are understanding fine. So sentence for the question is Gahyamana. It's not Grahyamana. Gahyamanaya is brother's adjective, so would it not be Grahyamana? No. Here the Gahamana is not brother's adjective. It's a Shyama who is diving into the river, his brother. So it is Shyama's brother, and Shyama is the one who is diving into the river. So Gahamana is the adjective of Shyama. That's why it's Shyamasya, Gahamanasya. Okay, now we will see the future participle. All right. So Rama sees Shyama who would be diving into the river. Or you can say who is going to dive into the river. In English, we can say like that also. Who is going to dive into the river, or who would be diving into the river. So now it's a future tense. Gahamana, we have to see what are the future declensions. So we saw the present tense, gahate, gahete, gahante, and future tense is gahishyate, gahishyete, gahishyante. So the formation of participle will still be exactly the same. So gahishyate, you will take and instead of te, you will add mana, gahishyamana. So that's how the word will become gahishyamana. So we'll use this word gahishyamana. Gahishyamana means one who would be diving. So here the translation would be Ramaha Gahishyamana. So remember this sentence and the second sentence, they are very similar, except here it is I can actually take the same sentence here. So Rama sees Shyama diving into the river. I can take exactly the same sentence. Here it's diving into the river. So instead of Gahamanam, it becomes Gahishyamana. That's the only difference. Otherwise, it will be the same. So Gahishmanam. So Gahishyamanam. Ramaha Nadyam Gahishyamanam Shyamam Pashyati. So in the present, when you use present participle, the sense is that he is actually diving into the river at that point of time when Rama sees Shyama. Here Rama is seeing Shyama who is just getting ready, like he is not diving, he will be diving into the river sometime in the future, who is going to dive in the river. So that's the kind of sense. Now, exactly the same way I have modified this sentence. Rama gives a fruit to Shyama diving into the river. Rama gives a fruit to Shyama going to dive into the river. So we'll take this sentence. Ramah nadyam gahamanaya shyamaya phalam yachati. So everything will remain the same except it becomes gahishyamanaya. Gahishyamanaya. Gahishyamanaaya Shyamaya Phalam Yachati. Rama gives a fruit to Shyama, going to dive into the river. Remember, if it were the case that Rama will give a fruit to Shyama, going to dive into the river, then this verb form, which is linked to Rama, that would change to future tense form. If it were a sentence, Rama gave a fruit to Shyama. Suppose the sentence were Rama gave a fruit to Shyama going to dive into the river, then this verb form, which is yachati, which shows you the present tense, it would become in the past tense. That is the only difference. So this is the future participle. As you can see, future participle and present participle very similarly used. Now the next sentences are passive voice. So now here we see river is dived into by Shyama. So remember what was our first sentence? Shyama dives into the river. This was our first sentence. Now we are saying river is dived into by Shyama. That means it should be the passive voice. How do we make passive voice? I hope you remember. So we change the karta. Shyama is the karta into the third case. So Shyamena. Then Nadyam becomes the Nadyam would remain the Nadyam actually. So this is not the best example here because it's not an object. So if we have to choose an example which is, let me use our example Rama goes to school maybe, or Shyama goes to school. That might be a better one. So I can take the example from here. Here it is. Somebody said it is. So let me take this example. So we'll just say Shyama here instead of Rama, so that our Shyamah Vidyalayam Gacchati. Then this is the active voice sentence, and passive voice sentence would become Shyamena Vidyalayah Gamyate. So this is our active voice sentence. But this is active voice, this is passive voice. Shyamena Vidyalaya Gamyate. So we'll just say here instead of river, we'll say Rama sees the school gone to by Shyama. We'll change our example so that I hope you understand why I changed the example, because I want to have the karma or the object in the first case. In that case, the Nadi was in the seventh case. So that's why I changed the example to Vidyalaya. So Rama sees the school gone to by Shyama. So here Rama is not seeing Shyama going to the school. That would be the active voice. Rama is seeing the school which is gone to by Shyama. So Vidyalaya is the first case. And that would be qualified by gone to. So Gamyate, that's a passive voice. How will you make the participle out of that? Gamyamana. Just remember, instead of te, I'll use mana. Gamyamana. So how will I do that here? Ramaha Shyamena गम्यमानः विद्यालयः पश्यति. Ramah Shyamena. So remember this thing, Shyamena Vidyalaya Gamyate. Here it is the Gamyate which is being changed to Gamyamana. So Shyamena Vidyalaya Gamyamanaha. So exactly the same. Shyamena Gamyamanaha Vidyalaya Rama Pashyati. So once you understand the basic sentence, you understand that what the participle is changing. Participle is just changing this verb form. Instead of Gamyate, it is making Gamyamana and creating the subclause that the school which is being gone to by Shyama, that's the school which Rama sees. So we can also change this here. School would be gone to. School would be gone to by Shyama. So this is the future passive. So this is the present passive participle. Now if I say future passive, you will say school would be gone to by Shyama. So how will you do that? First of all, you make the active sentence. Shyama will go to the school. How will you make active sentence? Let's first try active sentence. So Shyamaha Vidyalayam Gamishyati. For passive, it's always the Atmanepadi suffix which are used, irrespective of whether the root is Parasmaipadi or Atmanepadi. Here the root is Parasmaipadi, Gam, but we still use the Atmanepadi suffixes while making the passive voice or Karmani Prayoga. So this is our active voice, Kartari Prayoga. Shyama Vidyalayam Gamishyati. So first you will make the passive voice. So it will become Gamishyate in the passive voice. So Shyamena Vidyalayam Gamishyate. So exactly the same sentence as it is here. So Shyamena Vidyalaya Gamishyate. School would be gone to by Shyama. That's the simple sentence. Now we see how do we use the participle. So here I see Rama sees the school. That would be gone to by Shyama. So here it becomes the participle. So just like in the present case, we made this participle Ramaha Shyamena Gamyamana Vidyalaya Pashyati. Sorry, here I made a mistake actually. So because the school is in the second case, it will be Gamyamanam. The second case would be used. So Gamyamanam Vidyalayam pashyati. Ramaha Shyam, because Rama is seeing the school. So first of all, you just see Ramaha Vidyalayam Pashyati. Rama is seeing the school. What kind of school? That which is gone to by Shyama. So Shyamena Gamyamanam Vidyalayam Pashyati. Now here, if I take the same sentence, so if I want to make a future, then I will make it Gamishyamanam. So Gamishyate, Gamishyamanam. Gamishyamanam. Gamishyamanam Vidyalayam Pashyati. So that becomes a future passive. This is very unusual. You will normally don't find future passive participle being used. But I just wanted to, for the sake of completeness, I wanted to show you how to use the future passive also. So any questions so far? Okay. So if there are no questions, I hope you understood, because it was not difficult actually. If you attended the last class and understood the exercise part, that's not difficult. So far we covered present participle and future participle, both in active and passive sense, and for both Parasmaipadi and Atmanepadi roots. So last class and this class, we covered all the present and future participles for both types of roots. Now we will be, in the next class, we will be covering the past participle. And past participles are quite important, and they are much more frequently used in Sanskrit literature than present and future participle. So past participle is most used, then present participle, and then future participle. So we'll see past participle in our next class. But so far, if there are no more questions, I just want to also tell you one thing here. Mana will become Mana. So actually Gamishyama, it will become Gamishyamanam. So because if it is Refa or Shakara, here we have Shakara. So it becomes Gamishyamanam Vidyalayam Pashyati. So many times you will see instead of Mana, it is Mana. So remember our Nattam rule. Based upon that, it will become either Mana or Mana. So accordingly you will change. So in the future participles, it's very common to have Mana. In the present, it depends upon the verb form. Then if you all are good about that, then we can have the classwork. And after that, I'll solve this classwork for you and also show you Gita examples, or maybe I can cover Gita examples now, and then we can break for the classwork. So in Gita examples, you see, योत्स्यमानानवेक्षेऽहं या एतेऽत्र समागताः धार्तराष्ट्रस्य दुर्बुद्धेः युद्धे प्रियचिकीर्षवः. योत्स्यमानान्, So yotsyate, that's the future tense form of the word yudh. So from yotsyate it becomes yotsyamana, and yotsyamanan, that will be the second case plural, like Raman. So yotsyamanan. So those who would be fighting, that's what yotsmanan would be. So aveksheham, I shall scan, I would see them, those who are ready for fight. So in English translation, if you understand the participle, you will translate in English the way it will make sense. So here it is translated those who are ready for the fight. But literally it's a future participle, that means those who are about to fight or those who would be fighting. Then another verse, 1829. बुद्धिर्भेदं धृतेश्चैव गुणतस्त्रिविधं शृणु प्रोच्यमानमशेषेण पृथक्त्वेन धनञ्जय. Prochyamanam. You see this word, prochyamanam. How does it come? You have seen the word called uchyate. I think this word has come in Gita class also. Uchyate is the passive present tense of vach, root vach. Vach means to speak. So vach is, vakti is the present tense, but in the passive it becomes uchyate. Now you make it, if you have to make a participle, you will make it uchyamana. If you have to make present passive participle, you will make uchyamana. And with the pra as upsarga, it becomes prochyamana. Pra plus u, prochyamana. Pra is the upsarga, the prefix. So prochyamanam, that becomes the accusative singular. So that means one which is being spoken by, one which is being spoken, that thing he is referring to. So one which is being spoken. But you see how the translation has been. As I said, in English, even though it's not a future participle, it's a present participle, but depending upon the context, many a times you can't have the literal translation. So Gita Press, I have taken this translation from Gita Press. Here it's saying, I shall explain. Now, if you do not understand the participle and only know the tenses, you will wonder where the verb is here, where the verb for I shall explain is. There is no verb form here. Actually, the whole sentence, the verb form is only shrunu, listen. Now here, that is the verb form. Otherwise, there is no verb form here. So, the translation has come as I shall explain. But literally it would mean that one which is being spoken. You listen to that, one which is being spoken. Literally that's what it would mean. So the advantage of studying grammar is that you can see that how the verses can be translated, and even if the translation is a little off, you can make sense that how the translation has come about. And those of you who are attending Gita classes, which I'm hoping all of you are, you kind of would have an idea that how do we translate the verses of Gita. Then this verse we already have covered in our Gita class, verse 220. Hanyamane sharire. So hanyate, that is the again a passive verb form, present passive. Hanyate, like han is the root, hanyate. So this kind of gives you a clue. Yate in the end, it kind of, not always, but it kind of gives you a clue that it could be a passive verb form. We have already discussed that in class 11. You can revisit the notes of class 11 to understand a bit more about passive sentences. But hanyate. So hanyate, hanyamana, that would become the participle, and hanyamane is the seventh case singular. Hanyamane. And sharire, that is also seventh case singular. Shariram, sharire, seventh case singular. So this is a special construct which I explained in the verse when I was explaining the verse in Gita class. The two words coming in seventh case singular together, or not necessarily singular, but seventh case together, it creates a special construct in Sanskrit. That means that on the body being, so on the body, sharira means body, hanyamana means, so han means to kill. So hanyamana means being killed because it's passive. So on the body being killed. So that's the meaning of hanyamane sharire. On the, so it's not like locative sense in the sense that in the body or on the body, but when these kind of words come together, it means on, in the event of, you can say, in the event of body being killed. So here the translation is even though the body is slain. So let me see if any more questions are there. Otherwise, we'll have our classwork. So this is the classwork. So these are taken from the home exercises, these sentences. So you can try to solve these sentences, study these 2 page numbers in the book and try to solve these sentences. It is 9:55. We'll gather around 10:10. You can always send your questions through the chat window, and we can also discuss it afterwards. So 15 minutes break because it's 6 sentences. Please try to solve them, and we'll gather again about 10:10. Thank you. So there are a couple of questions here. Can you please give an example of passive sentence with dative, such as giving the fruit? So if you look at, like here we have the example for passive. Rama sees the school gone to by the Shama. So here he is seeing the school, but if he is, say for example, donating for the school, giving the money for the school, then the school would be the fourth case and also the participle. So if you say Rama gives the money for the school gone to by Shama, the school which is gone to by Shama, to that school or for that school, Rama makes a donation, Rama gives a donation. So in that case, it will come the fourth case, and you will say Shamena Gamyamanaya Vidyalayaya. Then there is another question. 1A and 1B are karmani sentences using dative form of karta with the verb rochate. Interesting, karta uses dative form and not instrumental. Is that correct? So this is related to these sentences here. The 1A and 1B in the book. So yo gramaha ramena gamyate same na rochate. The village which is visited or gone to by Rama does not appeal to me. So here the passive sentence is the Ramena. This is the passive sentence. Gramaha Ramena Gamyate. But Same na rochate, that is not the passive sentence. That is Ruch Dhatu takes the fourth case. That's why it is the fourth case. So Ramena Gamyamano Gramo Mena Rochate. So it's not like Rochate Ruchyate. So that's why it is not the passive. So this part is the passive, and that's therefore the passive participle have come. Ramena gamyamana, but mena rochate, that is not a passive sentence. It's just that roch dhatu, which means appeal to me or pleases me, it takes the fourth case. So that's the reason here. Going to the classwork, let us see if we can solve the classwork here. So dukham labhamanaha janaha ishwaram nindanti. So this is, I hope, pretty straightforward. Dukham is sorrow. So janaha. So if you look at janaha nindanti, first look at the verb form. Nindanti is the verb form. Nindanti means accuse or criticize. Janaha is the people. That is the plural case, so that makes sense. It's a karta, plural verb form and plural nominal form. Lavamana is the participle adjective for jana, so that is also plural. Lavamanaha janaha. What lavamana? Lavamana means getting or gaining. Dukkham lavamana, the one who are getting the sorrow. Ishwaram nindanti, they criticize God or they blame God. So people attaining sorrow blame God. So this is the second part of the exercise. Convert them into yat-tat construction. So if you read the chapter of the book, the way author has tried to explain the concept of participle, that he has taken the route yat-tat construction, first to make a yat-tat construction, and because yat-tat construction has been explained in the previous chapter, relative and correlative clause, so he is basically saying that you understood this structure already. Based upon understanding of this structure, now you can understand the participle. So this is one methodology. Remember, this is not the only way to understand participle. For example, I personally preferred not to take that approach. I took this approach where you create these sentences and slowly you show that how the participle comes into the play. So different approaches to, ultimately the idea is that you should understand how the participles are used. So because author has taken that approach where yat-tat construction is being used to explain the concept of participle, his exercises also in the book are of the similar kind. So if you find it too difficult doing the yat-tat construction, please, you can ignore some of them. The reason is that it's not necessarily have any connection. It is just a methodology to make you understand. It's not that they are necessarily connected, the participle and yat-tat construction. So if you can understand the participle as such and understand their English translation, you can ignore the yat-tat, but if you can make it, it would be nice. So in some places, the yat-tat construction can be very artificial because there are places where it's not equivalent and participle alone makes sense. Similarly, there could be other places where yat-tat alone makes sense, and if you try to put participle, that may seem like a little bit odd. So even in the previous exercise, some of you who solved the exercise, they raised that concern that what does this yat-tat mean? How did this come about? And the reason is that yat-tat construction sometimes can seem very artificial. It is just a way to make you understand the participle, but if you can understand participle without it, that's fine. So here, if you have to convert this into yat-tat construction, then the way you will do it, lavamanaha, remember this will change into the verb form. So participle will change into the verb form. So janaha labhante. So ye janaha dukkham labhante. So that the way you will go is ye janaha dukkham labhante. te Ishwaram nindanti. So te Ishwaram nindanti. That's what it would mean. So it's pretty straightforward in most of the cases, but in some cases it can be a bit odd. Ye janaha Ishwaram labhante, dukham labhante te Ishwaram nindanti. Now look at the second sentence. Gajam ikshmanaha shrugalaha tam gajam shamsati. So look at the verb here. Verb is shamsati. That means praises. It's a third person singular. So shrugalaha is the singular. He is the subject. Shrugala means jackal. Gaja means elephant. So shrugalaha praises the elephant. Gajam ikshmanaha. So remember Shrugala and Ikshmanaha, that is the participle verb for Shrugalaha. So Ikshate is the Gajam Ikshmanaha. Ikshate is the verb form. Ikshate means sees. So Gajam Ikshmanaha, seeing the elephant. So the jackal who is seeing the elephant, he is praising that elephant. So seeing, so the way you will do it, seeing the elephant, jackal praises that elephant. Now if you have to make yattad, so remember this ikshmana, that is the participle, that will convert into the verb form in yat sense. So shrugalaha, so the way you will go is shrugalaha yam gajam. I think the shrugalaha should be with the, yeah, so this is a little typo here. It should be Shrugalaha. It's not the Shrugalaha. Shrugalaha yam gajam ikshate. Saha tam gajam shamshati. Or tam shamshati. Yam gajam ikshate. Tam gajam shamshati. We can have like that. So either you can again say saha, or it is kind of understood. Shrugalaha yam gajam ikshate. Tam gajam shamshati. Here, if you look at, this is the Ramena Khadyamanam. So it is coming Ramena. That kind of gives you a clue that it's a passive form. So Khadyate, Ramena Khadyate. It is eaten by Rama. So Ramena Khadyamanam. The fruit being eaten by Rama. The phalam aham nechami. Nechami is the na ichhami becomes nechami. So I do not want. So I do not want the fruit being eaten by Rama. So I don't want the fruit being eaten by Rama. And here if you have to convert, then khadyamana would become the verb form. So ramena khadyate phalam. So yam phalam ramena khadyate. Yah yat phalam. Sorry. So because it's a neuter, so it becomes yat phalam ramena khadyate tam aham nechami. Tat aham nechami. Okay, any questions so far? So we did the exercise 3, and why not saha in place of tam in sentence 2? So here, if you want saha, it's okay, but the idea is tam gajam shamsati. The gajam he is seeing, the elephant he is seeing, he is praising that elephant. So if you want to put additional saha here that refers to shrigalaha, that's okay. But otherwise also the meaning is conveyed. But it will not come in the place of saha because the original sentence itself it says tam gajam shamsati. So now look at the exercise 4, which is convert them the sentences into present participle constructions. So here it is the opposite, like he has given the yat tad and has to be converting into the present participle. So ye janaha nrupena nindyante. So that is clearly a passive voice. Janaha becomes the object, nrupa becomes the subject. So the people who are blamed or criticized by the king, te sukham na labante, they do not get the happiness. So the people who are blamed by the king do not attain happiness. Claro? Okay, so present participle. How are we going to make the present participle out of this? Just like we did the opposite here. Here we will make this one as the participle, nindyante. So how will you make participle? First the base, nindya, nindyamana, and because it is the plural qualifying janaha, nindyamanaha janaha. So you will say here, so nirupena will come first because nirupena nindyamana. So we will say nindyamana, nindyamanaha janaha. So generally the adjective comes before nindyamanaha janaha. Now because it's not a relative clause, we don't need to put ye and te. So it becomes nirupena nindyamanaha janaha sukham na labhante. Simple. So ye murkhaha kaviभिः shashyante te kavibhyः sampadः yachanti. This is also shashyante. This is also passive. So as you can see, this is the third case, kaviभिः. So kaviभिः शस्यमानाः मूर्खाः कविभ्यः सम्पदः यच्छन्ति. The fools who are praised by the poets give the money or wealth to the poets. And here you will make it कविभिः शस्यमानाः मूर्खाः कविभ्यः सम्पदा यच्छन्ति. So कविभिः, that will come first. कविभिः शस्यमाना मूर्खाः कविभ्यः सम्पदः यच्छन्ति. Similarly, this one, Nadya Tire ya Naryah Vepante. This is active. Naryah Vepante, the women who are trembling on the bank of the river. Tahatom Pashya, you look at them. So it can be made, please look at the woman who are trembling on the bank of the river. And this one will become Bepante, that will become the participle. So how will you say Vepate Vepamanaha Naryaha? And Taha is the second case accusative, so it will become Vepamana. So Nadyaha Tire Vepamanaha. So if you look at our parts table, nominal declension table, so Gita, Gitaha, that is the second case plural, Gitaha. Similarly, Nari, Narihi, second case plural. Because here is the second case plural, we will use Vepamanaha Narihi. Tvam Pashya. So Tvam normally comes first. Tvam Nadyaha Tire Vepamanaha Nari Pashya. So you see how the participle make the sentence as much compact and more conveying the better sense. Okay, so any questions so far? Then okay, so thank you, Adriana Ma, for your comment. And I just solved the exercise so that you will have an idea that how to do them. The exercise number 238 for lesson number 21, that is already posted into the repository. And I have received some comments from the people, and this is kind of very good to see that some of you are making very good progress, those who are trying to solve the exercises. So I'm happy to see that I'm learning. I have third exercise almost all correct, only few little mistakes. And then here attached is the homework from Monday's class. Thank you for posting the solution. I do not feel confident without looking at the answers to make sense. The exercises are really helping in practicing the content. I was pleased to see that I was able to get the majority of them correct. So slowly, I know it's a lot of work. It's a good learning. It's a big learning, a very important learning, and it does take time and effort, quite a significant amount of dedication. But the results are also pretty amazing. That you start learning a new language, the language which is really divine and help you to study the scriptures. So as always, feel free to send us the email with any questions you have. Today we covered the class number 15 and 3 more classes to go till 18, and we will cover in the book till lesson number 24. That is our objective for this particular course. So 3 more classes to go, and 3 more classes also in Bhagavad Gita class also. So we would be finishing both the courses about the same time. Here it will be 26th, and the Bhagavad Gita we will be having the last chapter, last class on 23rd. So next class, please, any one of you who is not able to attend regularly, because next time we will be discussing the participle. That's a very important concept. Please do try to attend and solve the exercise. Even if you can solve partially, it's okay. If you don't have time to solve the whole exercise, but even if you solve partially, it will give you some clarity about the concepts. With the prayers, closing prayers. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. Thank you everyone.